Good afternoon. Own the chaos. Did I scare anybody? Was anybody just waiting for me and then all of a sudden I just went in on it? Did somebody jump out of their seat just now? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and I made it my mission to help you guys own it. It has been another wild day in the markets today. I'm looking at the indexes right now, and it's been really choppy. The S&P right now is down only 32 points, but that wasn't the case just about 2 hours ago. Looking at the Dow, that's down 233 points, which isn't great, but it was down much further than that as well. The Nasdaq's down 79 points. Looking at crude oil, that closed the day at $84 as far as WTI is concerned per barrel. Bitcoin is also down pretty substantially. We had a pretty decent bounce out of Bitcoin yesterday, and everything seems to be falling back down. That's down 2.25% at $19,046 per Bitcoin. So, what do we have on the docket today? We got Stitch Fix. We got Aurora Cannabis. We're going to talk about the Fed some as well. You guys see the poll there. But before I get into anything else, and I told you guys that I would remember today. I don't know what happened. Yesterday, I just had the serious case of the Mondays, guys. I really did. Kevin Hawthorne, Jeff Panicka, Mike Hudson, Pastor David Hopper, Bodie Beard. You guys are our starting five. Thanks so much for coming in early. If you missed the starting five, it could be because you're not subscribed or hitting that notification bell like all those motherfuckers are. So hit that notification bell and that subscribe button. I go live at 3:45 Eastern time every single day, Monday through Thursday, covering earnings stuff, covering headlines, anything going on in the stock market that we need to discuss. It is happening. And so, speaking of Aurora Cannabis, I do have a guest that's coming on today that is actually in this industry. So I can't wait to have her on. You guys have seen her before, but so it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. So she'll pop in here at some point during the day. But we do have Aurora Cannabis that'll be reporting earnings. We're going to be talking a little bit about the cannabis industry and what could be coming around the corner for them. And is it worth actually looking into a cannabis stocks anytime in the near future? Obviously, there's also Stitch Fix as well. That stock is down 75% since the beginning of the year. And that's not even the worst of it. Since the peak, it's down 90%. It's just mind blowing. They just have not been good. So we'll see what they say today. We'll cover those earnings as they come out when we get to the close. But how are you guys doing? Let me know in the comments. I see a couple of people already chiming in here. Snookaroo, what's up, my man? Alma, how's it going? John Gosson, a Chaos Crew member, which, by the way, if you're not a part of the Chaos Crew, you can hit that button, that link in the chat as well, pinned it in there in our live stream chat. If you guys haven't checked out the Chaos Crew and you want to help support the channel, I certainly would appreciate it. Here's the thing, and I should mention this now anyways, because I see a lot of my Chaos Crew folks in here. If you are a Chaos Crew member on YouTube, you have no obligation to quit or leave. However, you should know that YouTube takes 30% of any of the revenue that I make from our Chaos Crew that's signed up on YouTube. You know, this is something that I really kind of hesitated to bring up because, you know, it isn't always about all the money for me, but I need to be able to generate revenue to keep things going, to keep this operation going, to keep this channel going. So I figured, let's just tell the people. Anytime you make a donation to this channel, YouTube takes 50%. So any of you guys who have donated $50, $100, I only see about half of that. If you are a part of the Chaos Crew here in YouTube, if you click that join button, YouTube takes 30% of it, 30%. So to rectify that, to help me out, I actually started a Patreon, and it's at ownthechaos.com. So you go to ownthechaos.com, click join. If you want to cancel this subscription or the Chaos Crew here, no hard feelings, as long as you go over the Patreon. And I think it's just going to be much better. Patreon only takes 8%, and their interface, their UI, the user interface is so much better. It helps me out too. So like the 8% is actually worth it, where YouTube doesn't do jack shit other than put a join button there and takes 30% right off the top. So that is something that I wanted to let you guys know what we're doing, why we're doing it. So go check out ownthechaos.com if you guys want to check that out. What you get out of that is access to our Discord group. You get access to trade alerts. We're doing private videos as well. Some Stock Watch stuff. Every Stock Watch Sunday's back, but it lives on Patreon now. So if you guys want to be a part of that, please go check out ownthechaos.com. Click join on the right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, and would love to have you guys over there. So thank you, and Tamparello. Shit or legit YouTube fees. It's shit. Absolute shit. So it's pretty tough. So anyways, it was great when, I had thousands of people and I was like, what do I need? It's working, right? But things have obviously come down. And so now I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm actually getting, screwed. YouTube's getting screwing me right now with that. 30%, get the hell out of here. So anyways, that's that. I just wanted to make sure I covered that at the top of the show. Vabster, we're going to get into this. So what are your thoughts on Aurora Cannabis going up or not? And I want to try to check out, because Rumble isn't big enough, Bodie Beard. I'm not going to be on any side of the partisan platform. Like I'm just not going to be on a right-wing platform. Just not going to do it. And by the way, I'm a registered Republican and I'm not going to be on Rumble. Just not going to do it. Okay. So Aurora Cannabis, let's take a look at that chart. So the stock is down 139. Yeah, absolutely. Snooker. I feel like not a lot of people know that. And they take a ton of money. I mean, they take a ton. Okay. So here's Aurora Cannabis. It is crazy. And the stock has been absolutely atrocious. They've done multiple reverse splits, I should say. Let's take a look at the daily chart and you guys can see exactly when those happen. So here's your Aurora Cannabis chart. You see a peak here that was at 19,057. This is after a reverse split took place. The stock almost got delisted, so they had to do a reverse split, and it looks as if they're in danger of doing that again. Why did this happen? So they do a reverse split. This isn't just from people selling. This is from the actual company selling as well. Aurora Cannabis is up to their eyeballs in debt, and the only way that they can cover that debt is to, bring in revenue, which of course is what everybody's trying to do, but also they are also trying to, the only other way they can do that is to convert their shares into cash. So the way that they do this is by selling shares of their own company into the market to try to raise money. And so this is why the stocks continue to come down, and it has not been pretty. I would imagine that we're going to see another reverse split from them pretty darn soon. And to cover more of this, I got my friend Ann Tamperillo in here. What's up, Tamp?
Hello, Brad. How are we doing today, fine people?
Good. I'm doing good.
Better
I see that you brought us some beers.
Better
This is great. I mean, we should. Is that not the best sound in the world?
That has to be a sound bite.
It has to be. Cheers.
Man. I have to take the tabs off. I don't like them.
You got to take tabs off?
Yeah, it's just a
Is that just a thing of yours?
It's just a thing. I always know which beer is mine or which anything is
that's
mine.
fair.
I just don't like the tabs. They just get in the way. They're unnecessary.
I hear that. I hear you there. So, hey, if you're in the chat, are you a tab person or not? A no tab person?
SOL tabs.
Tabs are apparently shit, according to Tamp.
They are. I don't like them.
Ooh, Jeff, you're not wrong. A crisp golf shot sounds are good as well. I don't disagree with you that. Like a crack of a bat, when you know the home run's coming.
The swish of a basketball net.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes,
Very
that too.
Nice.
What's a good cathartic sound for you guys that are watching? It's like so satisfying.
The roar of a crowd, legitimate, organic,
yeah.
Football touchdown when that crowd reacts. That's solid. But
we've listed all sports things except for beer. There's got to be something better. There's got to be something else.
I don't know. What else?
Bodie says that sound. People are ragging on my ass. People who are not Ravens fans, that sounded as good as the crowd. Fuck you guys.
Lamar is legit, though. I mean, he's so fun to watch.
Yeah, if we had a defense that could keep us in the game, that would be great.
I
like this. The ocean and silence. Says the CML. The ocean definitely a good one.
Can be scary though.
A bong clearing.
Hey, we're going to talk about it.
We are going to talk about it. That's a great segue. So, as I'd mentioned before, Aurora Cannabis has earnings today. Their expected earnings per share are going to be a loss of 12 cents. And they've yet to have been profitable since they've been in existence. No surprise there. $38 million in revenue is the expected revenue line there. Last time, they missed by a lot. They were expected to come in at 362, and they missed by $3.39. So terrible miss. They missed revenue by $1 million as well. I don't have high hopes for them this time around either, Tamp. And a couple of things that I actually wanted to talk to you about is why are these companies so uninvestable? I have my own thoughts, and I kind of shared my opinion just before you came in here. But why is it so bad to invest into some of these cannabis stocks?
Well, it's crazy, right? Because cannabis is a great business, but it's hard because it's still federally illegal. That's going to be number one. I mean,
Right.
we understand that some states have legalized cannabis on their own, despite that federal ruling. Or these days, a lot more states have legalized hemp through the 2018 hemp farm bill. But it's still very much a gray area in terms of federal rules and legalization. And because of that, it makes banking extremely difficult. It is hard to find a bank that will support your business. It's even harder to find credit card processors that will take credit card transactions. So the fees just eat away. You're a high risk category when it comes to banks. You have to pay higher credit card fees when you do find a processor. And at any point, although it is not likely, I mean, the feds can kick in your doors and just take you to town and make life difficult. So when you have all those risks or all those potential things that could happen, I understand why some people are hesitant to get into big money investing. But at the same time, it's a recession proof business. It is very much like that of alcohol.
Right.
I mean, so
It's a drug, just like that.
It's a great business, but there's some hurdles right there that are just simply undeniable, regardless of your opinion about THC and cannabis in general.
And how do you know so much about this team?
Well, Brad, I actually own a brick and mortar CBD and THC retail store in Waco, Texas. It's in downtown Waco, Texas, not too far from the Magnolia Silos. Shout out to Chip and Joanna Gaines and Fixer Upper. So I've owned that business since right before the pandemic, and it's grown a lot. Laws in Texas have loosened up a lot around Delta 8 THC, which we can go into why that's a little bit different than Delta 9 THC for marijuana. And I've watched my business grow. I do not own a smoke shop. It's not a head shop either, and it's not technically a dispensary because they're still illegal in Texas. But it's a great business. It's a fun business to be in. And honestly, the cliche of it all is what keeps me going in there every day is honestly the stories that you hear from regular everyday people and how this plant and their usage of it has helped improve their lives. It's been really, really fun.
Yeah. So to that end, so just to clarify, it's not actual THC marijuana that you're selling there. It's a different form of that.
Well, kind of. Yes and no. So cannabis in general is a family of plants, and from cannabis you have two of the most known varieties from that family, which is marijuana and then hemp. Right? Hemp in Texas is legal, and THC is one ingredient in that plant that is the most well-known ingredient because THC has the psychoactive effects that get you high. So right. THC is the big buzzword with that. The only difference between THC from the hemp plant, which is still THC, it is known as Delta 8, and it is allowed, if you will, it is legal through loopholes. It's the same stuff that comes from marijuana. It's just the marijuana plant has THC in much, much higher concentrations than the hemp plant does.
Which would be the Delta 9, correct?
Right. So marijuana is known as Delta 9. Delta 8 is THC that is from the hemp plant. They're mostly the same, very, very little difference. It'd be kind of like just JV. It's not quite as strong as THC from marijuana. But it's really the difference is like the difference between an orange and a satsuma or a cutie.
Tangerine or something.
Yeah, it's all the same thing, but I guess if you want to get into technicalities, one's smaller, You know, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Right.
basically the same thing.
Okay. That makes sense. So, you know, on the investment side, because of Aurora being what they are, you know, I had mentioned before you popped in here how much debt they have. So
Okay.
how are they? Is it because they're Canadian based that they're able to get some sort of financing? And is it because I would imagine that the amount of money that they have has to have come from somewhere. And I have to dig into the balance sheets a little bit, but I would imagine that they're selling the shares to banks, and then banks are then, you know, selling those shares back into the market in the form of dilution.
Right.
And so that's what we're seeing out of Aurora and a lot of these other cannabis companies. But does it work a little bit differently in Canada, or do you even know that?
I mean, it's fully legal in Canada. I'm not going to pretend to know the banking system or the taxation in Canada, but there could be a number of reasons that they carry debt. I'm sure they're probably not putting everything on the books. Do I know that? No.
Yeah.
But they're probably not. And again, it's just overall, you can have fantastic sales. Fees just eat into everything. So they're going to make your profits.
Is that what it is essentially? Like, I mean,
big
because
time?
I would have ventured to say, or I would think anyway, if cannabis came legal here, a lot of these companies should skyrocket. But we're seeing this in Canada. A lot of these Canadian based companies and Tilray and even Canopy Growth is struggling in this area and Canopy Growth has the backing of Constellation Brands,
Okay.
Modelo, the owner of those companies, and they're still struggling. So is it because of the fees? Is it because of the taxes? Why is it that this is such a hard industry to be profitable in?
Well, I think it could be a number of issues, but if I had to choose one at the very top, it's going to be education. You get a lot of pushback, particularly in the US, from big pharma and privately owned prisons, and they FUD the market. They absolutely FUD the market that it's dangerous, that it's a drug, that it's a gateway type of thing. And I mean, I can see to a degree what they're talking about when your education regarding the usage of the plant is zero. There just has to be better education behind cannabis, when it should be used, how it should be used, especially dosage wise. And until we get that, there's just a lot of uncertainty about it that pulls the general public, i.e. the people who are going to buy your product and make you profit, that they're just going to kind of back up. But that's why you have stores like mine that are extremely professional, and we pride ourselves on education. So we get a lot of very high middle class type people that come in, you know, doctors, professors, business people that are simply just looking to try to get off of prescriptions and live better lives. So I think it's going to really always come down to overall just the education behind what this plant is and how is it good, better, worsen, whatever you want to call it, than things, you know, other coping mechanisms like alcohol or exercise or anything else. How does this fit into my life?
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. And if you guys want to go support TAMP, you can go ahead and check out the link that I put into the description.
Appreciate that.
CBD-Shaman of Waco. You can go check that out. That is in there.
Just go to wacocbd.com. That's the easiest. WACO.
There you go.
wacocbd.com.
And you can help support TAMP in that way. So I appreciate you hanging out with me. We're going to switch gears a little bit to Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix looks like those earnings could be out. I'm seeing some movement in there. The stock's up, or it was up, and now has started to move its way back down. I just want to double check to see what's going on there. But the expectations here on earnings is at a loss of 60 cents. $488.79 million for the quarter is also expected. They've missed quite a bit, and it's been really rough for Stitch Fix. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the stock is down 87% over the last 52 weeks and 75% since the beginning of the year. So really tough stuff for Stitch Fix. I actually enjoy Stitch Fix. I subscribe to Stitch Fix. They have pretty decent stuff.
As do I.
But the big problem has been shipping costs, inflation, inventories have really been the big story for them. And the stock right now is plummeting, is now down another 9% here currently. As you can see, the candle is falling off the chart here. That Whoa. Is, oh my, and it's still falling. Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll see what those numbers are right now.
You know, there was a time with Stitch Fix, you can justify the higher price of the clothing because I don't have to go to the store. I don't have to figure out my outfit. I don't have to search for it, and buy it and drive and park and all that. But it is getting pretty expensive.
And right now the stock is down now 8.5%. It looks like those numbers are out. Net revenue of 481.9 million. I believe that is a miss, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, oh no, that's a beat. So 488.79 was the expectation. They beat on revenue, but it is a decrease of 16% year over year. Active clients 3.795, a decrease of 370,000. That is definitely a big reason why this stock is selling off. Net revenue per active client was $546. That is an increase of 8%, but still not nearly enough to make up for the active clients that they're losing. Net loss of 96.3 million and diluted loss per share of 89 cents. The expectation there was a loss of 60. So that is a big miss on earnings per share, even though they beat on revenue. Net revenue of 2.1 billion, a decrease of 1.14% year over year. That is the full year key metrics. Net loss of 207.1 million and diluted loss per share of $1.90. This is why the stock's selling off. And I think that this is, we see these sell-offs, even if Stitch Fix had beaten earnings and they'd beaten revenue. You guys know that guidance is everything. But also with these types of subscription-based businesses, that's the key metric. That's what makes the stock go up or down off of earnings. Did you grow or did you lose? And we've seen this with the likes of Netflix and Disney and some of the streaming services, or daily active users with Snapchat or Facebook. In this instance, this is why the stock is selling off. That 370,000 active clients that they lost year over year is definitely why the stock is selling off. And it's tough. I actually really liked Stitch Fix as a company. The former CEO, the founder of the company, was the first, I believe she was the first woman that took a company to IPO. And so it's just kind of a shame to really see it falling down this much. It wasn't even down this far pre-pandemic.
I mean, is this the same type of pattern that we're seeing with also meal subscription kits as well? Because they're great ideas. I love those things, but they just get too expensive where I just can't keep using them.
It's not even just that. It's the impact that they get off of inflation, right? Like inflation numbers come through and things start to cost higher. The margins for these types of companies are so razor thin that it just kills them.
Right.
And that's what's killing Stitch Fix here. So it's unfortunate because it is a good business model. It's a good company. They're just going through it right now because of higher costs, and shipping certainly is definitely a factor there as well. Really tough stuff there. Checking back in with Aurora Cannabis. If I have some more numbers for you on Stitch Fix, I'll certainly be happy to share those with you. Aurora is up 1.5%. We'll see if those numbers are out. It doesn't look like the volume is really there to support any kind of real numbers coming in, but we can certainly take a look and see if there's anything happening.
You know, people ask me all the time about which cannabis stock they should get into.
Yeah.
They think I know a lot of stuff, but the one thing I will always say is you see the likes of Philip Morris, especially when it comes to Marlboro.
Right.
They have the know-how when it comes to their nicotine R&D. And I think they've invested, multiple double figure millions of dollars into R&D into marijuana. They have the property to grow. They have the know-how to grow. They have the machinery.
Yeah.
And I think companies like that, it's going to make it really hard for any sort of mom and pop or true cannabis only company to really, really thrive should marijuana become federally legal anytime soon.
It makes a ton of sense, and it would be such an easy transition for a company like Philip Morris, right? The infrastructure is there. You're just changing the product.
Right. Exactly. And in these type of massive companies, they're just going to get a stronghold on the market as soon as whatever administration says all systems go. To be perfectly honest, I'm still quite surprised that cannabis has not become federally legal yet. I thought the pandemic gave all the reasons in the world to greenlight it, and it still didn't happen. So that was my guess, is once COVID got into its height of it, I thought, listen, our economy is going to tank. We all know this. We start printing money. Why not make cannabis federally legal and tax the living hell out of it, and at least try to right the ship somewhat? And that fell off, the docket. So.
Right. Yeah. Create some sort of, what's the word for it? Create adoption for it, and really kind of get it into the ecosystem. And the crazy part is that, we could probably have this conversation all day long, but cannabis is a safer substance than alcohol, and yet alcohol is readily available to anyone.
Right. And again, everything's in moderation and for a reason, right? I
Right.
mean, there's so many case studies that show cannabis is life-saving, especially when it comes to things like pain and anxiety. I mean, it's undeniable. It's not just a party boy drug where I just want to get high and go nuts. People do that, right? But you can also say the same for alcohol. Somebody just buys a bottle and downs it because they have a problem or they want to just have a good time. But there's a lot of other reasons to use cannabis outside of just that.
Yeah, the benefits of it are certainly there as well. I think you probably be pretty hard pressed to find actual health benefits than consuming alcohol.
I would agree to that. I would definitely agree. I mean, it's kind of hydrating, maybe.
It's actually dehydrating, I thought.
I mean, to a degree.
I think it does dehydrate you.
They say tea does too, but I don't know if I fully believe it.
Yeah, isn't it like a diuretic?
People always say that word. you drink liquid, it makes you pee. So is water a diuretic? But it has stuff inside of it. I mean,
that's a good point. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know enough about biology or anatomy to be able to accurately or I guess appropriately make a statement.
The comments are going to go nuts. I know it.
Oh, I can't wait for that. They already are. Look, Don's already coming in. What's up, Don?
Here we go.
Don said you can abuse almost anything, so that's never really a strong argument.
True.
Fair point.
You see it all the time.
Don says very dehydrating. Caffeine is a diuretic. There you go.
Caffeine, tea, that sort
of thing. So that's what it is. Water's not a diuretic. Just flushes you out.
Fair enough.
So it looks like Aurora Cannabis is starting to move up. It is up 5%, but I'm still waiting on those numbers. I don't have them just yet. I'm looking at a couple of the sources that I have, but I don't see anything.
So while you're looking for that, I saw somebody in the comment asked how cannabis was legal in Texas. And again, the short answer is because the THC in the plant comes from hemp, not marijuana. So by the Farm Bill, that makes the extraction of that THC legal in states like Texas and most other states. Actually, there's only 11 at this point that do not recognize Delta-8 as a legal substance as long as it comes from the hemp plant, not the cannabis plant. But with that sort of understanding, people are going to do what they're going to do, which is find loopholes. And basically what the bill does is it says by dry weight, if your THC is only a very small percentage, 0.03% of the actual product, then it is legal. So what people did is they went ahead and they extracted a whole bunch of THC, some of it Delta-8, some of it Delta-9. That's just naturally what happens. And then they take that and they extrapolate it into massive quantities. And then they add a bunch of stuff into it to make the dry weights still legal under the Farm Bill.
Yeah.
And they make products with it. And they're extremely effective and extremely strong products to the point now where you can legally get enough Delta-9 in a product or marijuana-based THC in a product in the state of Texas, as long as it is in the form of edibles only. If somebody tries to sell you flour or a vape product in the state of Texas or a legal Delta-8 state, that's going to be still illegal. There's no such thing. But edibles can pretty easily be moved around by a dry weight basis in the edible world. You can get a Delta-9 product in the state of Texas.
So Delta-9 is actually available in states where they just legalize cannabis outright.
As long as cannabis is legal, or marijuana, we should say, the marijuana plant is legal, i.e. Oregon, Colorado, California, those type of states, it's free game. You can do whatever you want there. Other states, you hear about this Delta-8 THC.
Yeah.
THC removed from the hemp plant only, and then by dry weight, it has to be 0.03% maximum of the final product. That's why flour doesn't work, and that's why vape products don't work. They're too concentrated still. But edibles in Delta-8 legal states can contain Delta-9 by dry weight that is effective in the final product, and it's completely legal to sell.
Like Hazard AG said, Delta-8 is legal because minorities don't know about it yet.
Dang!
That's a bold statement. Holy shit. Delta-9 is only illegal. Oh, geez.
Wow.
Somebody who feels really strongly about it. So we'll get back on the cannabis train in just a second. I wanted to refresh everybody. So And I actually wanted to correct my statements because I think that I said that Stitch Fix beat revenue per share. They actually missed revenue per share. 488 million was the expectation. 481.9 is what they came in at. So that miss on revenue, they missed on earnings per share with a loss of 89 cents. They lost 9% of their active clients year over year. The stock is continuing to fall here. It's now down. Actually, it's bounced back a little bit. It was down around 9%. It's now only down around 5.5%. But it is still not a great quarter for them. Still no real good numbers from Stitch Fix, and it's been a shame to kind of see where this stock is coming from. This was almost $100 stock at one point. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. Well, actually, let's go to the weekly to give you a good depiction of what's going on. So here's the weekly, and it's interesting because if you guys have been following me for a while, I had talked about how Stitch Fix was one of my top 3 underrated stocks to buy during the pandemic, and that was when it was trading at $14 a share. It went all the way up to 113 from there.
Good call, Brad.
But then after that, it has gotten absolutely crushed. Now down almost 95%. So it has just been really rough for Stitch Fix. Inflation certainly not doing them any favors, and it's been a tough go for them since their peak.
It's just crazy with this one because you can understand why during the pandemic, when stores were closed and no one wanted to be in crowds, why this would surge the way that it did.
Right.
But even with stores opening back up, do people really want to go shopping that much where Stitch Fix would fall to these levels now? I mean, is that really enough?
I guess so. I mean, we're seeing we're seeing them lose clients now, right?
I don't want to go back to the store. I can't stand that.
I don't either, but I mean, a 10%, the numbers don't lie here. 10%
Right.
drop in active clients is, it's speaking for itself at this point. So it is, I definitely hear what you're saying. Cause it's like, yeah, who wants to actually go out shopping and all that anymore? There could be some cases to be made. I mean, do you want to try your stuff on without having to send it back? That's kind of a bit cumbersome or what have you.
Yeah, but you only got to do that once. And then once
True.
you know your sizes, or at least your brands, you can just nail them. I wonder how much of this is supply chain, in the textiles and whatnot. Are they having problems there? Are they having problems getting the right threads, the right designers?
It is a big problem. And the cost is really what it comes down to at the end of the day, which is why they've been hit so hard. It's really tough, especially in the retail space to keep up with inflation in the way that like a grocery store can, right? You have to eat. So if they raise prices, they know that you're going to buy it no matter what. You can live with the clothes that you have for, X amount of time. You don't need to necessarily.
And Stitch Fix, I think, they're nice clothes. They're not lounge around type clothes.
Right. So
maybe people not going back to work, people are like, look, I don't mind Stitch Fix, but I don't need that nice of clothing anymore. I'm good with just my kick-arounds, my knock-arounds. I don't need a closet full of work clothes anymore.
Yeah.
My work clothes are just a tiny little segment of the closet now because you don't have to go in and dress up anymore.
It's interesting that you say that, and I think that we'll have more conversations about that topic in DCTV. Guys, go check us out at the DCTV channel because one thing that, I'm so glad that you brought this up. We're actually seeing more and more companies, not just Goldman Sachs either, and this is Google as well, talking about bringing people back into the workforce. And so that is a very interesting point that you bring up. And I don't think that you're wrong, but I think that we could start to see that trend change. I'm not saying that Stitch Fix is the answer, that you should buy that up, but I think that there's certainly a case to be made that perhaps we will be seeing people go back to work more so than we thought. I thought the hybrid approach is probably going to be the way to go, but unfortunately, it seems as if more and more companies are making them all go back to work.
Yeah, but Goldman Sachs did that just to get everybody back and fire their asses.
I know why, and I'm wondering why Google's making them do that too. But I will say, it's been tough with us having to live in COVID mode right now, and I love having you around just because I feel more productive. And
thank you.
When Jaime's here and stuff like that, it just feels much better to have our people with us, and I wonder if there's something to be said for that.
There is. I mean, there's no substitute for face-to-face collaboration. When you're really part of a group that you need your peers next to you in order to move forward, it's hard to get the same vibe over video only. You need to be together, either drinking some beers or eating some burgers, whatever it is, just together, letting the creative juices naturally flow.
Yeah.
And so there's something to say about the social aspect of going back to the office.
Yeah, absolutely. Aurora Cannabis does have their earnings out, and it looks as if they were kind of a bit mixed. The stock's not really reacting all that much. It's flat after hours after being down on the day around 4.76%. Reading through the numbers here, it looks like they do remain the number one Canadian LP in high margin global medical cannabis revenues. International medical cannabis net revenue increased 35.4% from Q4 2021, so year over year, and 70% from the fiscal year of 2021 as well. Reiterates adjusted EBITDA profit run rate by December 31st. Reaffirms the 150 to 170 million in annualized cost savings. It strengthens balance sheet through accretive debt reduction totaling 155 million in Q4. Completed profitable acquisition of Thrive Cannabis. This is the thing that drives me crazy. It's like they have so much in debt, and then they're still out here trying to acquire shit. It's like, just pay your shit off first, bro.
It's hard, man. It's hard when you try to pay everything off with cash.
I know,
You
but
can't
like,
even pay your
damn.
rent in cash.
I know, right?
I mean,
It
unless
is
you're like
crazy.
one-on-one with the owner of the building, go try to pay a management rent in cash. They don't let you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm telling you that has something to do.
Well,
with
and
it.
you would know in this business.
No, I wouldn't.
In the cannabis business?
I would know, but I don't do that.
Medical cannabis net revenue was 36.6 million, a 4% increase from the year prior, delivering 72.8% of Aurora's Q4 2022 consolidated net revenue and 86.3% of adjusted gross profit before the fair value adjustments. Looking through some more highlights here, it looks as if medical cannabis net revenue was 62% compared to 68 in the year prior, so slightly slow down there. Consumer cannabis, the consumer side was 12.6 million as compared to the prior quarter of 10.3. So some decent growth there, 22% increase. Adjusted gross profit margin before FV adjustments on consumer cannabis net revenue was 26% for the 3 months ended. So like they have some decent numbers. They just can't seem to get out of the red.
Yeah, and a lot of this is going to be how they manage themselves as a business. I don't know anything about their brass and their CEO.
Yeah.
What are they investing in? If they're spending a ton of money on R&D or whatever it is, talk to us. What else do you need? I mean, are you investing in greenhouses? Are you investing in different strains? I mean, what are you doing that's spending so much money that you can't pay off your debts? And
right.
I wish I had the answers, but I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just very interesting to see how a lot of these and Aurora Cannabis isn't alone in this, right? They aren't the only company that has thrown themselves in a shit ton of debt and just continue to dilute their shareholders. You look at Tilray, and it's the same story there. Here's Tilray right now. We'll look at the daily chart, and it's very similar. They went through a reverse split way back over here, and they've continued to dilute the stock all the way back down to $3. Here's what's going to have to happen. And this is Aurora Cannabis is in the same boat. If they go below $1, they're going to have to reverse split to stay on NASDAQ, and they do not want to be delisted. So they're going to have to go through a reverse split again, which only hurts the investor. I really just have a hard time, giving my blessing on anybody looking to invest in cannabis stocks right now. And if there is one, Philip Morris is certainly a big one that Tant mentioned earlier. And that makes all of the sense in the world to me. If that's not your jam because you have ethical issues with cigarettes, I understand that. CGC could certainly be something to take a look at. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, they are backed by Constellation Brands. They have the brands such as Modelo underneath of their umbrella. So they're a pretty big company that support CGC, but you can see even with CGC, it's just been brutal. Just been brutal.
It's funny you mentioned Modelo, and it's something I was thinking about as well in the cannabis industry. Modelo's marketing lately, especially their television ads, have been awesome. It's basically brewed for the fighter or something. And they tell kind of underdog stories really quickly and how they rose to the top and, cheers to the fighters. It's been a great advertising campaign for them.
Yeah.
Cannabis doesn't have that yet.
Yeah.
You might see a local billboard in a legal state for a certain dispensary. You might see that, but I'm talking a nationwide advertising push done by a legitimate marketing company for a federally legal, clean product. When you start seeing those kind of marketing ads and projects really being pushed, especially over time,
yeah.
I think you can see a big difference in revenue generation for these companies. It's hard to push through as a business, especially with all the caps that the cannabis industry has on them, and not have some sort of sponsorship, have some sort of ad revenue that also brings in and allows you to do what you want to do as a business and grow into new avenues the way you might want to grow. It's hard to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, some really great conversations and some really great insight from you, Tampa. I certainly appreciate it. You ready for some shit or legit?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. So make sure it's shit or legit time. If you guys want me to critique your stocks or the stocks that you're watching and determine whether or not I think that they are shit or legit, put them in the chat. We'd love to have your input there. Put SOL and your ticker in the chat. And we'll go ahead and we'll just do Aurora Cannabis. I think that we've said enough about it. They had a pretty decent quarter, some decent growth. However, because of the debt, because of the dilution, in my opinion, it is shit.
I can't deny the numbers don't lie.
We'll do one more that I actually had my eye on, and because a snookeroo actually ended up bringing it up. Ford lost $7 billion in market cap today, citing costs due to inflation that are impacting their bottom line by $1 billion. We talked about this morning in DCTV. The link is in the chat if you guys want to go check that out. We'll be live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time to talk about more stuff in the stock market and in cryptocurrencies specifically, with Bitcoin as well in there in that mix. But yeah, Ford has had a rough day. It was down 12.3%. And I've actually been I want to say big supporter, but a big fan of Ford and the way that they've been doing things, the way they've been transitioning in the EVs. But for them to come out, it's been really rough. The breakdown here has been really hard to see. It looked like they were going to hold up above that 50-day moving average represented by this yellow line on the chart here, working their way up to that 200-day. You can see that they were in a little bit of a downtrend, but this sell-off here was obviously extra brutal. I think that there's potential for Ford to come down here to around the $11 area. It closed the day at $13. So that means that there's a lot more pain here, at least in the short term. I hate to say it because I love Ford and I will be looking for areas to buy this at. But in the near term, it's shit.
Ouch.
Sucks to say.
Ouch.
Jeff Ponica bought puts, so he's expecting this to go down as well. I know that Don's got a lot of Ford too. He and I talk about Ford quite a bit, and he's a DCA guy in Ford. If you, I know he won't mind me saying that, but Don actually has a pretty decent strategy surrounding around options that allows him to dollar cost average into Ford, and he's got a pretty decent amount of that. So I think Don, I know Don will probably see this as a potential opportunity whenever this decides to find a bottom. But you know, and they'll come back, but it's been a rough day for the EV or the auto manufacturer.
I mean, how much does this have to do with the EV movement and everything else? I mean, is Ford not getting certain grants that other manufacturers are? I mean, does that have anything to do with this whatsoever? I mean, does this have to do with the fact that during the pandemic, you know, hundreds of thousands of trucks just sat there, F-150s in stadiums waiting for chips? I mean, did everybody buy a new car during the pandemic because the rates were so damn low and everybody's trading everything in? I mean, what's the deal?
Yeah, so that's the one big issue. You know, it has been the chip issue, right? They've just gone through so many different things. The chip issue was a problem. EVs actually aren't the issue, I would imagine, for them, because they are getting government support for that. You're getting tax credits and that sort of thing for EVs. And Ford actually is the second largest EV maker right now next to Tesla. And they're probably going to be second in line to Tesla in the future as well. The Ford Lightning is going to be absolutely insane, but the problem is they just can't get it out. They can't get the product out, and that's what's really causing them issues. Inflation has certainly been a big problem for them, and it's not just going to be Ford, right? It's going to be all the auto manufacturers, and I haven't checked in on GM today, but I'm sure it has similar type move that Ford did. So it's been tough. Don just said what they just announced with their charging stations and dealerships. I love it so much more now. And yeah, I think that's going to continue to be a thing. Although John is a bit on the other side of this. He said this happened because they're too late to the EV game. I don't think so, John. And I understand what you're saying, because it seems as if you're wouldn't be surprising to me if you were just nothing but a Tesla guy. But Tesla isn't going to be the only player in this space. You have Ford that has dumped a lot of money into EVs, and the Ford Mach-E has been selling like crazy. And I know that the Ford Lightning is going to go nuts too. And I know that there's also a huge demographic out there that would much rather have a Ford Lightning that looks like an actual pickup truck versus something like a Cybertruck, which, by the way, has still not yet hit the market. We've been waiting on a Cybertruck for 3 years.
Good point. Good point.
You know, so, and look, I'm not trying to sound like a boomer here, but there are boomers out there that don't want anything to do with a Cybertruck. They want to go buy a pickup and they want something that's electric. They're going to go buy the F-150. That's John chime back in here said the battery material supply contracts, no EV supply contracts, which is why Tesla's crushing it, right? But they're still not going to be the only player here, in my opinion. They'll get this sorted out. I hear you, John. GM will go. Oh, that's so funny. All right, so I hear you, but I hear that. I actually appreciate the arguments. It helps create more engagement and more conversation. So I appreciate that. EVs will kill several automakers, says Bodie Beard. That's an interesting one too.
It is, because will it kill several automakers, or will EV and the whole electric movement just go by the wayside?
You know, we talked about this in DCTV earlier last week about how Toyota's not really going full EV, and they don't see how anybody's going to be able to go full EV. Made a couple arguments as to why that is. So the largest, auto manufacturer in the world is coming out and saying, hey, we're not going to go full EV because it's going to be impossible to do that. And they're looking for other alternative fuel vehicles, digging themselves into hydrogen and that sort of thing. And Elon's come out and been very vocal about how hydrogen isn't efficient enough to be able to put into a vehicle. And he might be right about that. But Toyota, I think, is also onto something too, that EV is just, there isn't going to be a time, at least in our lifetime, where you see nothing but EVs on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I like that thought process as well. Don't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to EVs. I mean, and not to get political with it, you can agree or disagree with, the climate change aspect of it all. But if you just actually look into how lithium is not only harvested from the earth, but then what also happens to it when it's done and needs to be recycled or thrown away.
Yeah.
You very quickly see the EV movement is not necessarily sustainable. So unless we have a longer term fix for the sustainability of EVs, I mean, I kind of tend to agree with Mr. Beard here. I mean, EVs might die off before a bunch of people go bankrupt.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see who actually dies off. And it does make me a little sad too, to see like Ferrari just go EV.
Oh,
or
I don't like it.
Or Lambo go. Like, are we going to live in the world where the V12 doesn't exist anymore?
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh no! We got this. Oh, there it is.
There it is. You can't do that, because then they are.
But
then what happens now is Ferrari now trying to catch Tesla in the EV game. How do you just flip like that?
Here's what Ferrari is trying to do. I think I think they're being pressured by people who have money, that have influence, that are trying to push the green agenda. So instead of alienating those people that can actually afford their cars, they're just going to fold and create these
Give them
EVs.
something.
Ferrari just came out with an all-electric SUV, I believe.
You know what?
Did you see that?
That's smart. Give them something to satisfy them that doesn't look like a Ferrari sports car.
That's a fair point.
Give them something that when it drives by, you can say, oh, I recognize that's Ferrari's EV, but you don't look at it and say, that's a Ferrari. Those things got to stay the way they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
That I didn't even think about that. But yes, that is a good point. I just hope that there's still, I don't know, combustible engines that they continue to bake.
Gotta be.
I know, who knows? I'll probably never be able to afford a Ferrari in my life, but it is.
You just can't say there's something about it. I got the V10, the V12.
Yeah.
You can't just take that away and act like you still have a Ferrari. Come on, man.
I know.
But mine goes faster, maybe, but it's just different.
I mean, yeah, people's Teslas goes faster, but they've looked the same for the last 10 years, and they're not exactly the prettiest cars out there.
No, that's my point. I mean,
and the build quality of them is apparently terrible.
I mean, with the Tesla though, at this point, the 0 to 60 compared to the combustion Ferrari is much better. So if Ferrari comes out with the EV, they're trying to catch Tesla now all of a sudden.
Right.
That's a weird flip in my mind. I got to
It
wrap
is.
my mind around that.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Okay. So we do have somebody who submitted a shit or legit. We got Baba SOL on Alibaba. So this has been a tough one too. Here's a chart on Alibaba. And if this was a company that was in America, if this was an American-based company, I would be all about it. And the stock would look a lot different. And actually, if you flip this chart upside down, that's probably what it would look like if it was an American-based company. But it's not. It's run by the People's Republic of China. And this has been something that has been a really huge problem for this company and many of the other Chinese-based companies. If you guys aren't familiar with Baba, it is essentially the Amazon of China. And if you follow this channel for any length of time, when Fat Man Zoom was here, we talked about Jack Ma and how he just disappeared. We made the free Jack Ma shirts and ran with that. We still don't know where he's at this time. However, as far as this stock is concerned, in my opinion, it's still shit until somehow they get out of the regulatory thumb of Chinese government. It's still a huge risk. Can Alibaba overcome this? Maybe, but it's going to have to be at the hands of China, and I just don't trust it.
Fair point. I mean, but at the same time, when it comes to manufacturing in China, they always come out ahead. They always get it done. Everything is always made in China. They find a way to do it cheaper and get it out there. I see your point, though. I definitely see your point.
Yeah.
Did they ever find Jack Ma?
They said that he was around. They said that he was alive, but I don't think if anybody's been able to actually corroborate that. So yeah, I'm not quite sure where it's going, and I'm not really quite sure if we're gonna see any kind of change in direction on Alibaba anytime soon, because there's still and there was talk of the U.S. government actually delisting this stock, and so that's just, I don't think it would have ever happened. But I think that just the mere fact that they were talking about it certainly has its own level of risk. Last one here, Michael's is that Spotifora? I always try to get.
That sounds good in Greek.
Oh, there we go.
Spotifora.
So DAC, Danos Corporation, is it? Yeah, I'm probably not pronouncing that right. This is something that I obviously don't know anything about, but let's go ahead and just deep dive this for a little bit. So DAC is a ticker symbol there. The stock is, let's see, down 20% over the last 52 weeks, down 16% over year to date, down 16%, which is actually outperforming the S&P 500 that is now down around 20% on the year. Forward PE on this is only 2 times next year's earnings. I love that about the stock. Let's see what it's all about. What are they involved in? They own and operate container ships in Australia, Asia, Europe, and the United States. The company offers seaborne transportation of services such as chartering its vessels to liner companies. So shipping company. This is something that I think is certainly risky, but given the fact that it's cheap and they are profitable, I would say that this is probably one that is legit. You know, it looks a bit on the rough side recently with the way that it's been trading, but I think if we look at it around $56 per share and it holds that area, I like it even more. There's several things I like about this company without having to take too much time on due diligence here, and that is that they are profitable, they're not overvalued, and they're about ready to reach a support level on the chart here as well. So for those reasons, I think that DAC is legit.
I like it. I always like companies who have a product that there's a second use that you can capture and make money on as well.
Yeah.
Shipping containers, there's a massive like people want used shipping containers nonstop, whether it's on their own property for storage, they want to make a cool house, whatever it is. I mean, shipping containers are in high demand on the secondary market, and I always like that.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I certainly appreciate it. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Tamp, it's been awesome having you on. I always love having guests on the show and giving your insight on the cannabis industry as we were reacting to those Aurora Cannabis earnings. And guys, we'll be back here tomorrow at 3:45. Oh no, I won't be back. I'm traveling up to see Fat Man Zoom tomorrow, so maybe I'll give you guys a some content with Fat Man Zoom tomorrow. I'm going to be hanging out with him for our Man Meal 100. You guys know all about our man meal, so it's going to be pretty cool. 100 weeks in a row we've gone out and had dinner with each other.
That's impressive. That's awesome. I mean, I applaud you guys for that.
Yeah,
Starting
really
at
cool.
5 and growing it and doing it for all the right reasons during COVID to help small business.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's cool. It's really cool. So I couldn't miss it. Couldn't miss Man Meal 100. So I will not be live tomorrow. But we will be here tomorrow at DCTV. So go check us out. The link is in the description. We'll be down there at we'll be on DCTV at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So go check us out, guys. Thanks so much. Also, if you want to help support me and the channel, go check out the link that's pinned to the chat. Go to help me out on my Patreon and help support the channel. Help keep things going. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
See you later.
See you guys.